So this topic, I'm going to show you some tutorial because this topic is, I also have a separate webinar. Then this is my third time of this ESG related webinar. So I had already two topic talk about this topic in the previous webinars. So if you want, I can share that. I have also presentations and the recordings of my previous webinar. So if you are interested in this topic, actually anyone in IT or the business should understand ESG, because this is the state of the art in business and investment side. So I cannot show you all of them today, but I'm going to, as far as I summarize, and I'm going to the essence of this ESG, so you can have a snapshot of what the ESG means and what it means to management, technology, and investment. So first, what is ESG management? Because you may heard about that. A lot of companies expressed that after the COVID-19. So a lot of the country and the company wanted to recover from this COVID-19 massacre. So they want to recover. So for the COVID-19 economic recovery, the thing that happened was the two things that you have. The first is ESG management is a hot topic, is the most the focus topic in their enterprise management, and also the government, because you may heard about that. For example, the President Biden and also the South Korean President Moon Jae-in expressed that about the concern about the environment issues, so climate changes. So they are going to have some effort to make carbon zero nation by some time. For example, in the United States, by year 2050, they want to be carbon zero nation by doing some elaborative effort. And then also each company expressed that they are going to be in ESG management in their top priority in their management topics. And also the other thing is acceleration of digital transformation because of this untact. You know that a lot of people are working at home, and then so the non-physical contact work environment is now norm, and then the digital technology actually can support this new norm, and then it accelerate this digital transformation in enterprise and state. And also the other thing is cybersecurity matters that will be the hot issue because of this digital transformation acceleration. And then also the supporting technology like artificial intelligence, blockchain, IoT, and other supporting technology like 5G and other big data and other technology will support to integrate to accelerate this ESG digital transformation. So the first topic that actually you can see here is that, for example, this is Apple. So Apple described its business goal is we believe that business at its best serve the public good, empowers people around the world, and bind us together as never before. So it changes their business core. Well, usually the enterprise, the company's goal is to the profit. They wanna be like a profit to provide based on profit. They provide value to their shareholders and stakeholders. But now their Apple's business goal is for the public good. to contribute to society. That means this is ESG. So they want to contribute good public goods like contribute to environment, sustainability, and social like involvement, contribute to society, and the more transparent and ethical business operation like governance. So ESG is the most highly priority topic in Apple. And also other companies like a P&G in all the industry sectors that declare that the year 2020 will be the ESG management is their business goal and priority topic for the top executive and shareholders. And also here is a Korean company, Samsung Display, and the CEO expressed that they were going to contribute to the ESG management to the society. And also other like a circular zero, like renewable energy, and then reduce the waste for, and then recycle for the limited resources management, and then also care about the environment. And also Toyota and other automotive companies also express their contributed to, especially for the environmental and social issues. So here is some recording that I did from McKinsey, the world top management consulting company, express what will be the post-COVID-19 ESG strategy. So you can see that.
Chairman Song on hold.
So.
Real-time Chairman Song on hold. President Publisher Oh Young Jin, and guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor to invite to speak at this 2021 Korea Times Forum. I gave this line last year. I gave a speech on the topic survival strategies for the post-pandemic world. I emphasized the need for resilience amongst the challenges that we were set to face. Well, as a year later, it is clear that the pandemic has impacted lives and lives in ways that could not have been envisaged. Almost 169 million cases, 3.5 million total deaths, 3.5% GDP contraction, 114 million jobs lost globally. For the first time in over 20 years, more people will fall below the extreme poverty line than they move out of it. 1 year ago, it was unclear how the pandemic would impact progress on environmental, social, and governance issues, ESG, as well as in stakeholder capitalism more generally. It now seems, and I will argue, that the pandemic has emphasized the importance of ESG-focused and stakeholder-centric approaches to the future of business. Let me explain why that's the case, and I'll start with the environment. There are indeed many similarities between the pandemic and climate change from which we can learn. They are both systemic, with direct impacts and knock-on effects that propagate fast across a connected world. They are both non-stationary. Past probabilities do not provide an indicator of future outcomes. They are non-linear. Socioeconomic impact grows disproportionately once thresholds are crossed. They are risk multipliers. They exacerbate vulnerabilities in the economy. They are regressive and disproportionate impact the most vulnerable of the population. But they are also tragedies of the common. Individual action can run counter to the collective good, and they cannot be confronted and overcome without global coordination and global action. Now, there are some important differences here. These differences make climate change even harder to combat. COVID-19, after all, is imminent and discrete, with directly observable impacts, which we have been conditioned to respond to in the nature and need for our survival. Climate change is gradual, cumulative. Its dangers are distributed across the world as a whole and require present action in order to ensure security and resilience in the future with a high degree of uncertainty and the potential for long-term return is one that cannot be measured today. I would argue that we must take one lesson all that we have experienced. And that is that addressing both crises requires a shift shift from optimizing for the short-term performance of systems towards ensuring long-term resiliency. Let me turn to the social side of it. Many businesses have responded to this pandemic by going the extra mile to ensure that employees, customers, and suppliers are safe and taken care of. And I know that's been true in Korea. We've seen businesses launch assistance programs, provide round-the-clock support to employees with access to mental as well as physical health care. We've seen businesses take care of customers in their communities. One example, car service companies offering free rides to people to get them to the vaccination points. We've seen large enterprises support their suppliers, helping small and medium, for example, part suppliers survive and weather the pandemic. Moving forward into what will be this next normal, it is vital that all businesses continue to strengthen the care they show for all stakeholders, as customers and talent, for both of those of you. In terms of the G of ESG, governance. There is no doubt that governance is a topic that is vitally important, but it's also one that attracts less interest, perhaps because it relates to the internal workings of a corporation. But it does matter. And it's important that companies take a hard look at their boards. How are those boards composed? And how do they help ensure an awareness and ability to move forward in ESG issues? How do boards and companies communicate clearly with all stakeholders to remind everyone of the importance that business has in ensuring the prosperity of society as a whole? And how do companies articulate their social and other purpose to ensure that the role that they play is aligned with the actions that they take day in and day out? Doing all this will not be easy, as there are sure to be challenges along the way, whether it's the growing government debt that is a consequence of the way in which governments step forth to support business in times of challenge, whether it's the ongoing requirement, and indeed the increased requirement for reporting against ESG and related metrics, or whether it's the need to prioritize about many competing demands that business leaders now face. Well, the pandemic has shown us what can be done when business comes together behind a common goal, works with the public sector and the social sector to achieve its ambitions, and delivers. Companies and governments, after all, were the ways in which this vaccine has come to the world, the way in which collaboration has occurred across the globe. We've seen many businesses come together to acknowledge and endorse the need for metrics to ensure that we can measure progress. But above all, we've seen business leaders stand up and ensure that they take the actions to ensure that all stakeholders emerge from this pandemic and provide the prospect of a better future for this world. I believe that this has been a moment when the similarities and differences between the pandemic and the other elements of ESG will allow us to now know that we must act for the view to the long term, and not just with an eye to the short term improvement. I now look forward to answering questions. Thank you.
Okay, so why every company are now focused on ESG? Because of pressure from shareholders, stakeholders, and mostly from investors. This is the one actually that ESG investing is year 2020, the different investors are millennials. So they have a different taste from the baby boomers. I'm a baby boomers, but the millennials are different characteristic. For example, that they want to eagerly buy some health food, like organic food, compared to the cost. For example, if I go to supermarket, then I'm still based on price to compare with whether I decide to which food I'm going to choose. But the millennials are more prefer to take care of their health and their environment and society. So they drive the investment now, and then so they push every investing money to be spent for the social goods like ESG compliant business. And also that here is like a Harvard Business corporate governance said like ES shareholders push that this ESG activism in enterprise. And also, for example, that the ESG asset, the asset under management is 53 trillion, right? That currently around 20 trillion and 53 trillion by year 2025. So actually, this is like a third of the world investment fund that operating now. And then also the biggest the investment management company like BlackRock push the ESG and climate goal is coming the business friendly phase. So they push the company that if you want money, then you need to be ESG compliance. That's why that. So here is one good information about what
There's
the
a big
ESG
trend in
fund
investing.
matters
You can see it on this chart.
from the
Inflows to
Wall
ESG
Street Journal.
funds, they peaked in 2020. ESG funds say they judge companies on environmental, social, or corporate governance factors, and they aim to attract investors looking for a more ethical approach.
ESG funds have been around for quite some time, especially in Europe, where the trend has really been sort of ahead of where we are in the US. But it wasn't until last year that we really saw an explosion of interest.
Many of these funds have recently outperformed the markets, but regulators say they may not be all they claim to be. We'll explain why. The tension around ESG funds has to do with the way that they're built. There are a few strategies, including exclusionary, single theme, and best in class. Let's start with the exclusionary approach.
So when a portfolio manager takes an exclusionary approach to making an ESG fund, they'll basically decide what category of companies they don't want to have in their portfolio, no matter what. A really common category for this is weapons manufacturers, for instance, or tobacco companies or casino operators. Those types of companies are commonly totally excluded from ESG funds.
Other ESG funds tie themselves to a single theme. The index ticker SHE tracks gender diversity by including large companies with at least one woman in a key leadership role. That includes companies you might recognize like PayPal, Home Depot, and Netflix. There are also ESG funds tied to solar energy and water, which promote sustainable use of natural resources. Funds like this can help an investor put money into companies that might improve society. ESG funds can help an investor reach their moral goals, but the funds have also earned solid financial returns in recent years. A Wall Street Journal analysis of ESG equity funds found that nearly 150 of about 200 funds outperformed their benchmarks. That's driven by tech stocks, which are commonly held by ESG funds. More than half of these funds hold Microsoft. Nearly half hold Alphabet. In other words, ESG funds are betting big on tech, but could accept questions about tech companies' inclusion.
Tech stocks are sort of interesting problem when it comes to ESG because a lot of these companies do have relatively strong environmental practices.
By 2030, Microsoft will be carbon negative, not just across our direct emissions, but across our supply chain too.
But then on the other hand, they may have some serious problems when it comes to the S component of ESG. For instance, we have companies that have come under fire for their data privacy issues. We have companies that have been criticized for the way they treat contractors and third-party workers.
But here's the catch. A fund manager can just use looser criteria for which companies it includes in ESG. This makes it easier for more companies to qualify, even ones that seem counterintuitive to the overall mission. One such approach is called best in class.
When we asked BlackRock last year how they were putting together ESG funds and still including major oil and gas producers, they said that they tend to take a best in class approach. An oil company could still belong in the ESG fund if it's shown to have done better on ESG principles than its competitors within the same industry.
Using a best in class approach means that a company only needs to be better on ESG principles than their competitors. But an investor doesn't always know how that fund is built.
The problem is a lot of investors don't tend to read the fine print that comes with all of their funds when they're deciding what to put their money into. They may just be attracted to a fund because they see the name of the ticker or the name of the fund itself and think, that seems to align with my investing goals. But when you look under the surface, you'll often see there are companies in these funds that don't seem to align with the stated goal of the fund. And that really comes down to the fact that there's still no standard definition of ESG or what constitutes an ESG fund.
These details matter because they can change how the fund performs, but critics say that they can also compromise the fund's stated mission for high ethical standards. Recently, critics in the federal government have sounded the alarm on sustainable investments. Here's SEC Commissioner Hester Pierce talking about how companies are assessed for ESG funds.
We see labeling based on incomplete information, public shaming and shunning wrapped in moral rhetoric, preached with cold-hearted, self-righteous oblivion to the consequences which ultimately fall on real people.
And it's not just the SEC. The Labor Department proposed a rule this summer that would make it more difficult for 401k holders to put their money in ESGs. The department says the rule is needed to protect workers from investments that aren't in their best financial interest. But pension fund managers and Democratic lawmakers say the Labor Department's proposal would undermine a tool of positive social change. Regulators are still considering whether or not to change any rules. Some lawyers and regulators think that there should be more standardization across ESGs to prevent investors from being misled. And others say it's a step in the right direction to have Wall Street thinking about sustainability at all.
Okay, so now you understand what is matter with the ESG management and investment. And then I'm going to have you to understand more about the ESG landscape. So I'm going to present some tutorial about what is ESG Knowledge Map. So you will understand what is meant by ESG and what is the topics and knowledge you require to understand. So actually this map that I developed using the machine learning and the data analytics that I developed. So I'm going to share more like PDF file to clearly you can see what each topic means. So you can see more clearly now here. So I'm going to explore that this is, I think this is the comprehensive map that I developed. Then I cover all the knowledge topics that relate to ESG. For example, ESG is generally related to investing and some economic system. So they are related to green bond and sustainable and impact socially responsible investment and also circular economy. Actually, this is some are related and some is like a common topics and some are beyond the ESG. So for common topics will be in the like they're going to develop like renewable or the less wastable technology and then the process. So for example, they are related to some matter with the environmental issues like I'm going to talk about like some, for example, waste management related to circular economy here. So, but some other topic may be the how you're changing your business model to make your business less like consume energy and less consume and then less produce wasteful like output. So this is one topic actually you can maybe have an interesting in addition to ESG if you want to be comply with like post COVID-19 business model. And then each ESG like have environmental and social and governance topics. And then environmental, usually this environmental sustainability and stewardship relate to environmental issues. So you can also divide these environmental topics as like, for example, here is a climate change. So like a global warming, like for example, that what is you can reduce to like a greenhouse gas here. So so each topic maybe how to monitor or predict or mitigate, reduce and adapting the greenhouse gas emission, and also how you can like reduce like carbon footprint, and then also relate to some carbon neutralization like carbon zero, and then also they also relate like green energy, so renewable energy and clean energy. So they are going to replace the energy type like traditional electricity or the oil or gas by some solar and then other like renewable energy or clean and green energy. You can replace it. And also another topic will be the waste management. So how you can manage your like, for example, packaging waste and then plastic waste and solid waste and water waste, how you can manage this waste. And also how you can like manage your limited natural resources. So for example, you try to do to water management or land use and also biodiversity here, and also how you can control your pollution. So how you can control your air quality management, and then how you can prevent pollution like a chemical toxic pollutant or something like that, or air pollutant here. And also like for example, you also have some related to climate change deforestation. So you matter about how you can make a for example, like in the later also like how you can resolve the forest here. And then another topic will be the social. So this is also like a social responsibility. And then the big issue will be in here will be how you do like a community support, how you can like collaborate, how you can support your local community. So like charity or philanthropy or donation, goodwill, or the community management, like a community support, and then like for example, support care of your community or volunteering. These kind of topics will be like a socially good behavior of the enterprise that required. And also here is a big topic, the human care. So they are related to like a general human right. So for example, like a human, like a dignity, or the another topic will be discrimination or the labor force. Like for example, the whether you produced your products through this kind of the like exploiting like a child labor or something like that matters in the supply chain. Also, you need to consider the workforce. This is the rate employees. So how your workforce safety and health. So this is the I think that for example, you're in South Korea. I think that this is the most significant topic relate to ESG in Korean company. For example, the logistic company, and they have like a higher like a subcontractor, and then they exploit their manpower, and then there was a strike about, and then there was a death. And so this is a really should take care about the workplace safety, health, and how the employees well-being, how you educate and then make them happy and make more productive. This is a topic in the social related topic. And also another important thing is that the business relationship. So to be have a profitable, you to have a revenue, actually you need to sell your product or service. So this business relationship is very important topic in social matters. So for example, customer cares, and then also like a partner care, supply chain management care, and also very important topic that today's topic is a private and cybersecurity. So this will be the big topic in the business relationship, because of the once you have some, for example, that you breach that your data, and then it is related to your customers the personal like personal data. So then the adversaries use that data, exploiting data, then there will be the significantly loss to you and your company and your customer. And then this will ruin your reputation and good business relationship with your customers. So this is a big topic, and then that's why I'm going to talk about this separately today. And also the governance is a traditional governance is how you operate your company more ethnically and more transparently, and how you can harmony with your stakeholders, and how you like to involve your like in the government matters or the unethical matters or illegal matters. And then here is like how you comply with your ethical conduct or the legal compliance matters that relate to governance. So this is a whole topic that cover in ESG. So ESG is very complex and very broad. So to understand this one, actually, I have from AI. So I'm expert in AI. So I developed the machine learning and big data analytic code to gather information from internet, and then I put the data, and then AI summarize whole topic, and then I interactively work with the AI to produce this very intensive map, knowledge map about ESG. Okay, so I spend a lot of time to introduce you ESG because some of you maybe not have not in the field or not much understanding of the ESG. And from now, I'm going to be speed up to finish up the first part within for example, 20 minutes.